wide open, and she scored!
Welcome to UND Sports Extra. I'm your host, Dan Hammer. On tonight's show, the North Dakota men's and women's basketball teams involved in games and upcoming games with their arch rival. Meantime, each getting a game with the University of Minnesota. Women's basketball coach Travis Brewster joins us a bit later, but our leadoff man tonight is men's basketball coach Brian Jones, fresh off a return trip from Minneapolis after his team lost to the Gophers last night at Williams Arena. It was another weekend of road travel for the coach's team. It all began last Saturday with a win at Drake in Des Moines before last night's loss in Minneapolis. Brian, Saturday's win was a good one for you because it kind of got you over the hump on a non-conference road win for you.
Well, it did. Obviously, we haven't had a non-conference road win in one respect, but just a chance to go out and compete against a like opponent, as I always say, and it was good for us. Obviously, coming up short a few weeks earlier against South Dakota State in the same scenario, but the script was just a little reversed. I thought we really persevered and took a big step forward.
And last night, you got a first-hand look and experience of that relentless Minnesota defense.
We did. Obviously, it's really hard, as we were talking before the show, just to replicate that type of athleticism, that speed on one-day prep, whether it's 5 days preps or one-day prep.
Yeah.
They really did what they did. They turned us over. They got a lot of easy baskets, and that was really the story of the game. Going into the game, we talked about what's our biggest key. Your offense is probably going to be your best defense. We just didn't handle the ball.
You've been on the road so much. This team is evolving away from the eyes of many here in Grand Forks. But where do you see it to this juncture, considering you've played so many games on
Honestly,
the road?
I'm really pleased with where they're at defensively. I think we've had some lulls at times, but offensively we're a click behind. A lot of that has to do with some guys we've had to out due to injury. We've had guys playing out of position. We're kind of getting healthy now. We've had to rest some guys, but honestly, I think we're right where we should be. We probably could have one or two, maybe more wins, probably one for sure, but it's still part of the process. They're coming along. I think even last night through some things when we were doing our job, when we were playing unselfishly on the offensive end, when we were dialed in defensively, we had a lot of great possessions. Now we just got to string those together.
All right, Brian, let's take a look at the highlights from last night in Williams Arena. And you got off to a good start to this game here, hitting your first 4 shots.
Yeah, we talked about it. We couldn't get off to a 10-0 start like we did at Drake, and obviously selfishness right here. That's what we had to get our feet to the paint and make the extra one. That was what we were trying to do offensively.
You're executing well here in the offensive zone.
We were. Again, we want to play fast as well, but then if we didn't have an easy one, we needed to take our time.
So you build a 10-5 lead early here, and then one or two individual players who were particularly a challenge for you kind of get into the act here, and one was Maurice Walker inside.
Well, it was. He's huge. You really can't do him justice by watching him on TV, but their 4th perimeter player were their best players, so I say if they're going to beat us, we need to make them beat us inside, and obviously he had 17 first-half points.
Yeah, Walker sparks Minnesota on an 11-0 run here in the first half, but get a couple key baskets here to keep within striking distance.
We do. In that 11-0 run, we turned it over 4 times. That's what it's what happens, and that's what they do. They get you in that game. But again, there's some quality possessions defensively. We're running the floor with great spacing and unselfishness and finish.
Yeah, great play by Jerron Nash on each end of the court there. But Minnesota again gets a little spark before the end of the first half from DeAndre Matthews.
To me, he's the catalyst of that team. He's so fast. He orchestrates everything they do. Our whole game plan was to try to keep him out of the paint. And we did a pretty solid job, but again, the shot making right there, 3 baskets, he is the lifeline of that team.
43-26 here at the half. Terrell DeRuin, when you were spacing and getting in gaps for your guards, good thing happened in this game.
That's what was our whole game plan. But then the guards, as you're seeing right there, great play by Q. Make the extra pass. We had to learn from Utah. When you got big bodies like that, you have to draw it and kick.
Second half, as you mentioned, turnovers, and they really were probably the bugaboo for you last night. 25 turnovers.
They were. That was a big play. That kind of broke our back a little bit. We just got to stop. We threw it off a back, and just as you're seeing, how do you defend those things? Those are runouts when you turn it over, and honestly, I was okay with that. Again, just like Utah, the last 6 minutes of the game, I just didn't feel we competed the way we're capable of competing. That lead literally went from 19 to 30 because we didn't value the ball and we quit competing defensively.
92-56. What's future scheduling against Minnesota look like, or what do you want it to look
No,
like?
I would definitely. I think it's great for our fans. It's great for our student athletes, but it's great for our program for recruiting.
All right, when we come back, Brian will stay with us, and we'll recap North Dakota's wacky win, crazy finish to the game in Drake last Saturday. That's coming up next.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota.
Welcome back. Women's basketball coach Travis Brewster a bit later. Right now we're visiting with men's basketball coach Brian Jones as UND began its past weekend on the road in Des Moines against Drake, and this was a wild finish to this game. Drake scored the opening 10 points of the game, as coach referred to earlier, to take an early 10-0 lead. C.J. Rivers driving and scoring. But then North Dakota would begin settling in, and this would be a pretty close game throughout the first half. Terrell DeRuin was 7-10 from the field, 15 points. North Dakota trailed by 4 at the half. Then in the second half, North Dakota went to work, and UND got a lot of points in the paint on this day. Jerron Nash here coming up off the inbounds, flushes it. And then Chad Calcaterra will work inside, and for the first time in the game, it's tied. This was early in the second half. Eston Tyler made 5 of his 7 field goal attempts. This is a 3-point play. UND trails by 6. 43 seconds left now. UND down by 5. Quinton Hooker gets to the basket and finishes. UND's down by 3. Then Hooker steals the inbounds pass. Lenny Antwi will cast away a long three-pointer. It's off the mark, but it drops right to Tyler, and he's there for the bucket. UND's down by 1 with 33 seconds to play. UND got the ball back then, and in the waning seconds, DeRuin penetrates, and then it's Hooker with the acrobatic layup worth one more look here. This with 14 seconds to play, and North Dakota made a stop on the defensive end. And, Brian, that was a heck of a finish as you outlasted Drake here for a win 63-62. Pretty crazy last 43 seconds to the game.
Well, it was. Obviously, you can't script those things, but our guys had a lot of perseverance and wanted getting stops and timely stops. And as you saw, we attacked the basket. That was a lob to me. That wasn't a shot by Lenny. That was a pass.
That was a pass.
In his mind. All right. So, but yeah, just finding ways to win with a new team, and it's not always going to be pretty. That's what they have to understand. You win ugly sometimes. You're never going to lead for 40 minutes. We learned from South Dakota State. We led all but 28 seconds of that game and got beat. So it was good to see our guys persevere and find ways to win when they particularly didn't have the lead or maybe not always played well.
Yeah, it was a game in which you had a lot of points in the paint, but also your guard play was a winning edge for you in this game,
Well, it is.
wasn't it?
It's going to have to be a strength of ours, and that's what was disappointing about last night. Our strength was not a strength for us last night, but it was against Drake, and we did a great job of making the extra pass, sharing the ball, but spraying the ball, making the extra one, but also making shots in timely fashion, which you need to do on the road.
All right, Saturday in Fargo at Shields Arena, NDSU. The last couple 3 meetings here, home court has been the difference, but the cast of characters for each team have changed considerably from last year, and you won in Grand Forks.
It has. Obviously, they're still finding their way. They've had a ton of road games as well. They're still new. Obviously, Dave is a new head coach, but I think the system is still the same. So, it's going to be a great. Throw the records out the door. It's going to be the teams who's going to be the tougher team, who's going to value the basketball, who's going to get timely stops, is going to be the one who wins. I really, when you have rivalry games, I don't care if it's home or away. The games are always going to be close.
Right.
And I think. In the history of the thing with us down there is we've always been good for 20 minutes. We got to find a way to be good in their building for longer than 20 minutes.
All right, Saturday at Fargo against NDSU. We'll recap that game next week here on the show. Brian, thanks for your time. Women's basketball coach Travis Brewster joins us next as North Dakota gets ready to host Minnesota. That's coming up Wednesday evening.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota.
2 years ago, Eston Tyler played inside the Betty, except then he was wearing a different uniform for UMKC. And since his transfer to North Dakota, he's been one of 3 key guards in North Dakota's system.
There was a time when Eston Tyler was a thorn in the side of North Dakota.
But he's been good here in the second half.
He has
Three
been.
and then 2 twos here in the last few possessions.
7 in the second half for the 6'1" sophomore point guard.
Back in 2011, Tyler was running the show at UMKC, and he helped lead the Kangaroos pull out a win in Grand Forks, thanks to his 12 points on that day.
I remember a scouting report, a whole emphasis was on Eston because if he goes, the whole team goes. So I remember that. I had to guard Eston, and I mean, it was tough because basically the offense was through him. So, you know, I had to really stay focused and just guard him through pick and roll games and all that.
Tyler led that team in scoring his sophomore year, but a change within the program following the season made him rethink his future in basketball.
Our head coach at the time had gotten fired. It was a new coach coming in, and I didn't really like the way he was doing things. After the season, I had already decided I was going to try to transfer from UMKC. And over the summer, I came up here and visited for a weekend and got to work out with the team and see how they practice and all that. And I really liked everything basketball-wise, like the coaches. I really liked the coaches and a lot of their teammates. And I just felt comfortable being here.
A St. Paul native, Tyler had been recruited by UND coming out of high school along with UMKC. It was that familiarity that helped Tyler's decision to come to Grand Forks.
Coach Gamelli, he used to coach for 43 Hoops basketball in Minnesota. And I played for another team at a different level. He coached a higher level than me.
It was a little slow to happen, but we just kept at it. I think that's what we've learned being at North Dakota. You have to be patient with young people, especially in the recruiting battle. And I think just the relationships won out on this one.
The transition would be a challenging one. NCAA transfer rules meant Tyler would have to sit out all of the 2012-2013 season. Sitting on the sidelines was not something he was used to.
Yeah, I did initially think about some D2s or possibly D3s just so I didn't have to sit out that year. I really didn't want to sit out. It was different. It was probably the first time I sat a whole year without playing in a game since the first time I picked up a basketball. So it was different just to be able to sit back and watch it from a different point of view, not always in the games playing. I think I was able to learn a lot more and just focus a lot more on different aspects.
I think it just rejuvenized him as a person, as a player. So I think last year it was getting that confidence back, getting that swagger back, but also working on the things he wanted to get better at.
The patience is beginning to pay off. Tyler has been slowed by a nagging hamstring injury to start the year, but he led the team with 17 points back in his debut against South Dakota State on November 21st. The immediate impact is something the team is hoping will grow as the comfort level settles in.
Where he's had to adjust is that we play 2-point guards. Most teams are generally used to playing one. We play 2 on the floor a lot. We have 2 ball handlers on the floor, learning how to play off the ball a little bit more than he's used to. I think that's been his biggest growth and understanding of our style.
I've always thought I was an okay shooter. Since my dad wanted me to be a good point guard, but he also wanted me to be able to score, so he worked on me with those things. So yeah, I feel like I do have the best of both.
Eston Tyler, Quentin Hooker, and Terrell DeRuin, the 3 key pieces of North Dakota's backcourt. And we're back with women's basketball coach Travis Brewster.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota.
Welcome back. The North Dakota women's basketball team has won 7 straight. The 7-1 start, the best in the Division I era. 7 straight wins, the best in this man's short tenure as head coach, Travis Brewster. Coach, good to be back with you again. One of the most anticipated regular season home games in a long, long time, tomorrow night as you host Minnesota. First of all, how did this game get on the schedule, and how did it end up in Grand Forks?
Well, part of it was Curtis Lloyd. Maya Lloyd's father was an assistant at Minnesota last year, and we worked out the schedule when he was down there. And just one of those things, we were going down there twice to play, and they'll come back here once. We thought it'd be a neat opportunity to have, father versus daughter type of situation. And we went down there last year and played, and now they're coming back. So we're kind of excited about this game. It's the next one on the schedule for us.
Real strong regional appeal, especially for your fan base for this game.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are excited about it from the aspect, hey, we play them in hockey and things like that. But we don't have a series going, so to speak. It's a one-gamer. That's all we're doing, and see what happens.
Well, going into the game, you share one thing. You're both off to great starts. You're 7-1. Minnesota's 8-1.
Yeah, they've played some good basketball. They beat North Carolina State. They've played Vanderbilt. It's going to be a tall task for us to try to accomplish.
Yeah, they're a defensive team that relies on their 2-3 zone defense. And as we were chatting, you've seen a lot of zone defense this year, so it's nothing strange to you at this point of the season.
No, it's not strange at all. I mean, we've probably seen more zone this year than we've seen. And, that's part of their MO is they play a lot of 2-3. They want to turn you over, have you take quick shots, and they go down and get easy transition scores. Yeah. But you can do that when you got an All-American point guard, and then you also have an All-American post player, and then they have a heck of a transfer that came in that's a potential All-American as well.
Yeah. How disciplined do you have to be in the offensive end of the court on Wednesday?
First of all, we got to make shots. We got to move the ball to the right spots to get those easy shots. But, they try to bait you a little bit at taking some quick ones. They want you to take shots that are uncharacteristic to your game. And, it's really going to come down to, can we move the basketball and knock down the open jumpers when we need to and find the right person at the right time? It's a tough thing to play against.
All right, it's going to be fun tomorrow night at the Betty. You're coming off a win over your arch rival, NDSU. It was a blowout. In the second half, you were up by, 17 at
16,
one point? 16 at one point. Game ends up going to overtime. Walk us through this one a little bit.
Well, you go down there, it's a rivalry game. There's no getting around it. They're going to play their best basketball, and we're going to play our best basketball. You throw the records out the window and the stats. I thought Leah Zabla got us off to a heck of a start, really attacking them. And then you turn around, and their point guard, Brooke Lamar, she was tough. She went for 33, and we got to figure out a way to stop people.
This game ended up being a real offensive dictated game. How difficult is it to stay with your defensive principles when you need to get into games like this?
Well, you start going back and forth, and that's the key. The team that can be the most disciplined down the stretch and make the plays down the stretch has an opportunity. And it's one of those ones when we playing our defense, we talked about we got to keep them out of the paint, and they kept getting us. And when we took the paint away, then they knocked down shots.
Yeah. What does it say about the resiliency of your team to be up by 16 on the road, have the home team come back, and yet you win in overtime and make the key plays down the stretch?
Well, I've been impressed with our ladies all year, and they've handled it, and it's been tough, but that's a heck of a shot. But they understand, you can't quit. You always got to play the game and try to have the best results at the end.
5 players in double figures, 90-87. You really won this game in the paint, didn't you, considering what you scored in the paint and what you did defensively in the paint?
Oh, absolutely. I think we scored roughly 60 points in the paint.
Yeah.
And that's a tribute to our team of moving the ball, getting people to basketball in the right spots. I thought Emily Evers did a great job of being triple teamed, but still finding ways to score, and Maya Lloyd did her thing. And, I thought our guards did a great job attacking the rim. Obviously Michaela did one, right there at the end there to kind of the go-ahead basket, so to speak. But I think the real key for us was Leah Zabla, when she hit a couple of free throws, and we got a great spurt out of Kelsey Knox.
I want to talk to you about a couple players here. Siri Burke.
Yep.
Coming into the season, you needed her game to be elevated. She's playing more minutes than anybody else. She's shooting the ball better this year, too. Talk about what she's done to this point.
Well, Suri is our glue player. She understands what we're doing offensively, defensively. We play her at all 5 spots on either side. Yeah. The big thing for Suri is right now we got to try to protect her health and not get her run down by playing a lot of minutes. But, she's done a nice job. I thought she passed up a couple key opportunities there at NDSU. But you know what? It's one of those things of, you got to play the next game and be ready to go. But she's been very good for our team.
All right, let's take a look at the highlights as you beat Dickinson State last week to open this most recent streak here. Dickinson State made 7 of 9 field goals to take a 17-16 lead. And then you got going here as you're going to go on a 9-0 run, kind of fueled by Maya Lloyd and then Siri Burke getting going here.
Yeah, it's a tough game for us to play. It's in the aspect of we have to execute and work on our stuff, and they're trying to work on their stuff. And we came out a little flat, but we got going. I thought that we started moving the basketball well, and again, we see a zone, and Siri Burke knocks down the shot. We had great ball movement there, went inside and out.
Emily Evers has 5 double-doubles on the season.
Yep, I hope she gets about 20 more. She's done a tremendous job. Teams are starting to double team her. She's got soft hands. She's got a great basketball IQ, and we're getting the ball to her in the right spots. So that's a big thing.
Maya Lloyd was one of 4 players in double figures in this game, 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 steals. Megan Lauk had a strong game, 7 of 15 from the field. She finished with 17, and you go on to win 88-40 over Dickinson State. So again, you set the stage then for tomorrow night against Minnesota. A couple must-dos, Brew, as you look at that game against the Gophers?
Well, we got to take care of the ball. That's going to be a big one for us. The other part, we got to rebound the heck out of it. That's going to be the other part. And, you know, my thing is with our team, I love it when they play aggressive.
Yeah. Big week for you. You've got Minnesota at home tomorrow night, and then you're at Clemson on Saturday. We'll recap those games next week here on UND Sports Extra. We're back with more right after this.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota.
Coming up next week on UND Sports Extra, we'll review the intriguing matchups between UND and NDSU in men's basketball and UND and Minnesota in women's basketball. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for North Dakota Hockey with Dave Haxtell. You love North Dakota Hockey, and North Dakota Hockey with Dave Haxtell is all things hockey. When you need to know more than just the score, see more than just the highlights, and find out more about the players you love, catch North Dakota Hockey with Dave Haxtell Tuesdays on Midco Sports Network.
Got it again. Travis going to take the shot. Got it! 1.1 seconds remaining.
Every shot,
And the tasty dish to Larson for the slam and the
every
jacket.
dunk,
Breakaway. Score!
every goal. Wednesday, it's women's basketball at 7 Central with Wisconsin Green Bay at SDSU. Saturday at 7, men's basketball at the Sanford Pentagon with USD hosting UNLV. See it all only on Midco Sports Network. This is how we do sports.